How you doing, folks? And welcome back to another episode of Hot Takes. Sorry I was gone last week, but technical difficulties. Also, there wasn't a whole lot going on last week outside of the NBA playoffs and the NBA finals, and it only been 1 or 2 games played, and there wasn't much to report on just yet. But since we're talking about the NBA finals, I'm sorry. I'm your host, Marcus. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So, back to the NBA Finals. It is the Bucks versus the Suns, and I don't know if I put it on this initially, but I have been telling everyone that I know that I am calling for the Suns to win this series in 5. Now, I say that because, in my opinion, they're just the more collective. They've never been here before, but neither team has ever been here before. So everyone, except for maybe Jay Crowder, has next to no NBA Finals experience here. So the way I'm looking at it is the Suns are just a better team all the way around. Better shooters, more consistent on the road and at home. So at this very moment, as of this recording, and there's going to be a game today as well. As of this recording, the Suns are up 2-1. And right now it is what we call a home team series. That means that if things continue this way, the winner of this series will be the first team to take a victory on the road. I fully expect Phoenix to take Game 4 in Milwaukee. And it's an interesting storyline because neither of these teams have actually been to the finals in quite some time. The last time the Bucks went to the finals, they won, and that's back when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, formerly Lou Alcindor, was playing in Milwaukee, and he had a running mate. You may know him as the big old Oscar Robertson. So here's the deal. Phoenix is the team that I'm going with. And even though they lost their third game, they were expected to lose one of these games because, in my opinion, I have so much respect for Giannis Antetokounmpo and that Milwaukee Bucks team that there's no reason for them to get out of this without at least one victory. So that's all we have for right now. As of this very moment, I'm rooting for Chris Paul to get his first and possibly his only championship. And after that, we got one more to go out of the Banana Boat crew, and that means that we're waiting on Carmelo Anthony to get his, because I think that's the perfect way to end the era, where all the greatest players of this past era get a ring. I mean, LeBron's got his, Dwayne Wade's got his, Chris Bosh got his. It looks like CP3 is getting ready to get his, and I just need Carmelo to get his so we can just end this whole era. All these greats can ride off into the sunset. And the good thing about these NBA playoffs, as much as people want to whine and complain about it being injury-ridden, but people tend to forget that injury is part of sports. It's part of the game. That's kind of why we love it so much. There's a lot of parity to be had here, and when you have this much parity, it's only good for the game. Like, honestly, I'm happy for once we're seeing a finals where we don't see the same competitors regardless of what team they're on. It's good to see that the league is going to be in good hands. I mean, we already knew how good Donovan Mitchell was in Utah, but we got to see him elevate this year. Last year, we got a chance to see Jamal Murray take on the world in Denver. This year, we got a chance to see just how far a team can. Like, who thought Atlanta was going to get that far? Who really thought Atlanta was going to get that far? Trae Young is an absolute beast of a player. So small as he is, there's a reason they call him Ice Trae. That boy got ice in his veins. He is made of ice. Like, he ain't scared to shoot nothing, and I love it. But speaking of the playoffs and the Hawks are the ones that took out the Philadelphia 76ers. And one player has been catching a whole lot of flack for that, and that is one Ben Simmons. You see him right here on your screen. Now, the reason I'm bringing him up is, as it says it right here, it says that they're now opening up trade talks for all-star caliber talent in return. Now, what that means, for those who don't know, so Ben Simmons is he's an all-star. He's a bona fide all-star. Like, there's, like, for no reasons whatsoever, does anyone have any reason to believe that he's anything less? He's also, a runner-up for DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, this past season. He had a terrible run in the playoffs, and what came back to bite him in the behind is what we've been talking about, basketball fans have been talking about for the longest time. He either cannot shoot or he refuses to do so. And you cannot be the best player on the team or the second best player on the team and produce nothing in the points category. You have to give something. And while he has been giving double-doubles in the regular season and triple-doubles, they've been very low. At 6'10", he can give you 15 rebounds. He better be able to. He's big. He's an incredible passer for his size. At 6'10", 250. I mean, they say they call him the Fresh Prince. The same way they call LeBron James King James, they call him the Fresh Prince. He's supposed to be the heir to the throne once LeBron James leaves because he's supposed to be the next best thing. But LeBron can shoot. Don't get me wrong, when LeBron started, he couldn't shoot, but he learned how to do it within the first 4 years of his career. He knew that he was going to have to develop some sort of mid-range three-point jump shot at some point, and he did that. Ben Simmons, are we going into year 5 now? 6? Where you at, bro? What's up? You got to show some improvement. And I'm not saying he can't do it. I've seen him play pickup games. He looks confident when he shoots. But he won't do it in a regular season game. He won't do it in the playoffs, and that's what's got him in this situation right now. Personally, I think it's time for him to move on from Philadelphia. It is, he needs a change of scenery, and he needs to play for a team that's either going to play him differently, or he's going to have to adapt, or he'll find himself out of the league in very short order. So here's what I think is going to happen. Now, back to this whole playoff caliber thing. I mean, sorry, not playoff, but all-star caliber player that the Philadelphia Sixers are looking for in return. Caliber is the key word here. That means that the player doesn't necessarily have to be on Ben Simmons' level or above. They can be what we refer to as a fringe all-star. So this is what I think is going to happen in the very near future. We're going to see teams push for him, and I think the team, in my opinion, with the most draft capital and talent to offer, they have to figure out a way to make the money work, which means there'll probably be a third team involved. But I think it's going to be Sacramento. The Sacramento Kings have players and assets that can be used on someone else's bench or in their rotation. They are one of them is a fringe all-star. So the players I have in mind going in this deal would be Buddy Hield, the shooting guard for Sacramento, and Marvin Bagley, the power forward. Now, Marvin Bagley isn't necessarily the starter. He could be the starter, but the Kings don't seem to know what they're doing with him. And also, he's been a little injured back and forth, so that's kind of hampered him a bit too. But honestly, when it comes down to Marvin Bagley, Sacramento has mismanaged him, and I mean, they've done a poor job of getting him to where he should be. I think that he needs to change the scenery as well. Like, there's been an outcry for Marvin Bagley to be moved because they're not using him properly at all. So I say you package those two together and maybe a couple of draft picks. Maybe you get another team like, Indiana, Oklahoma, maybe Cleveland. Someone that has a team that's going to have high draft picks going for like the next 5 years. Someone who can actually offer that draft capital in exchange for some future pieces that could either be flipped or they can become stars. So overall, I have Buddy Hield ending up as a Philadelphia 76er. Buddy Hield might not be the most efficient scorer, but he ain't scared to shoot it, and he can get you some points. He can get you buckets when you need it. And that's something that Ben Simmons wasn't able to do. Now, with that means that they'll be losing their quote-unquote Philadelphia's point guard, but personally, I think that they have enough guard play to where they can pick up the point guard responsibilities if they need to. I mean, Ben Simmons, yeah, he was an excellent passer, but he would pass up on open shots and dunks because he was afraid to get fouled because his foul shooting was terrible too. I don't know what happened to him, but he needs to figure it out elsewhere because Philadelphia is not going to forgive him for this. They put up with him for about 4 or 5 years now, and he's not showing any improvement on that part. Now, the good news about Ben Simmons possibly going to Sacramento, in my opinion, is, well, that team is still largely centered around De'Aaron Fox. He is going to be the motor of that offense. He doesn't necessarily. What you do is you take point guard responsibilities off of, like running the team off of De'Aaron Fox. You allow him to be a scorer. You allow him to be that aggressive scorer, and he can still pass if he wants to. It's all good. You run Ben Simmons at the 4, give him some point guard duties. You don't worry about him developing a shot, though he probably should continue to do that. Worry about it because it's going to be the end of his career if he doesn't. And in general, work the paint because they don't necessarily have a defining big man in Sacramento. And the reason I said put Buddy Hield in this trade is because when they drafted Tyrese Halliburton in this past draft, even though he got hurt later on in the season, he was pushing for Buddy Hield's job because Tyrese Halliburton is also just as good. Here's his thing: he's not as efficient as he could be, but he's more efficient out the gate than Buddy Hield ever was, and that's something that Sacramento values. That kind of efficiency because it works well with De'Aaron Fox. So if you got De'Aaron Fox being your aggressor on offense, you don't have to worry about that from Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons can continue to own the paint, and be a defensive player and be that passive guy on offense that he's turning out to be. So I think that works out for everybody. The reason I said throw Cleveland in there because I'm pretty sure you're gonna have to make the money work somehow because Marvin Bagley and Buddy Hield together aren't making what those guys aren't making what Ben Simmons makes. Ben Simmons makes $33 million per year. You can add both Bagley and Buddy Hield together, you're not gonna make $30 million. Someone's gonna. You gotta make the cap work here too. I say throw Cleveland in there because I'm pretty sure we have to get into a situation where we're gonna move Kevin Love at some point. He can't stay in Cleveland too much longer. Maybe Bagley ends up in Cleveland. I don't know, but there's gonna be at least no less than 5 draft picks moved in a 3-team trade, and I think Philadelphia will end up with more draft picks because we are talking about Dale Morey. He's like a wizard when it comes to making these trades work out for him and his team. So, yeah, Philadelphia has a lot to do, but I also surmise that they're not going to trade him before next season starts. They're probably going to make that trade closer to the deadline when they can probably push for more. The reason I threw Oklahoma City into that is because they have nothing but draft capital, and they did just trade away Moses Brown to the Celtics, which I'm still confused about as to why you would trade someone who was so consistent for you. I mean, the guy was putting up big numbers for a terrible team, and Oklahoma City confuses me sometimes, but they do what they do. Now, in other news, because there's not much to talk about with the playoffs going on. And with that trade going on right there, here's a fun one. Team USA, as they get ready for the Olympics, they finally won their first game in exhibition play against Argentina. Well, see, here's the thing. They beat Argentina 108-80. They're expected to win most of these games. They have the most talent, bar none. But as I've always said, teamwork makes the dream work. And this team, USA, has not been together very long. Understand? So they've not been together long enough for them to actually be as effective as the other. A lot of these other teams have been playing together. Like they lost their first game to Nigeria, 90-87. Close game, but they had no business losing that game. I mean, let's be honest. The best player on team, the best 2 players, or the most well-known 2 players on Team Nigeria. As a matter of fact, I'll give him 3. There's Ekpe Udoka. I'm sorry. Ekpe Udo. I always mess his name up. Ekpe Udo. He's been in the NBA before, but he wasn't very good. His game didn't translate, so he ended up going back overseas, which is fine. He plays very well overseas. His game is catered to a different set of rules. That's great. Then you have Precious Achuya, who is currently a Miami Heat player and a very good rotational player. As a matter of fact, we kept him and let Jay Crowder go. I wish we had kept both of them, but I understand they do the same thing. And Jay Crowder, while older and more experienced, it makes more sense to go ahead and get a player who's going to be just as good, if not better, with Precious Achuya. And then they have another player in Jahlil Okafor, former 76er and New Orleans Pelican. So yeah, that's their best 3 players. But when you think about Team USA, Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, Kevin Durant, I mean, and the list goes on and on. These guys, they're literal all-stars. Bradley Beal. There are literal all-stars all over the place. Draymond Green. I mean, I can keep going. USA has no business losing even exhibition games to these teams. They lost their second game to Australia. Understand that the best 2 players on Australia's team this year are Patty Mills and Matthew Dellavedova. Both of these players are in the NBA, but they're not starters. They're bench rotation players. Maybe a 6-man. I don't know. Team USA has no business losing to these teams. and it doesn't make any sense. Now, they're headed to the Olympics. They did just beat Argentina. They routed them completely, and that's how it should have been going in the first place. Now, here's the deal. I never usually root for any teams in the Olympics because I like to see, I'm more the type, I like to see Titans get taken down. I like to see the best players get taken to work, But this is kind of awful. I don't know if anyone remembers this, but back in the 90s when the Dream Team was still a thing, something happened where they played against, I think it was with the select team or the best college team, and they lost in an exhibition game. And what happened was, it goes largely as the game that was never, the greatest game that was never recorded. And I mean, you can look it up if you want to. I can't get into the whole thing because it's a lot to try to remember on the spot. But it's interesting. This team needs to kick in the pants, and at this point, I'm looking at them. If they don't get it in gear, like right now, and I mean like right now, they might not medal. Now they can medal. Clearly, I mean, they can beat teams of lesser talent, which almost every team is lesser talent. But you have to think about it. These guys have been playing for their countries for a long time. Like, these guys have 40 and 50 games together per year, whereas these guys in the NBA are literally playing for the first time together. Like, they play each other all year long, but they never play together. So another thing that I've been noticing, because I have watched a couple of these games back, I don't think Team USA understands how the overseas game is played fully. They're used to the NBA game where if a call doesn't go your way or you feel like something was unfair, you stare the ref down and you either get a tech or they just don't pay you any attention. Overseas, none of that matters. This is Olympic play. You can't stare a ref down. They don't care. They're not being paid by your league. So understand that you have to get up and keep on playing. Fouls are different. How you set your feet is different. The dribble rules are a little bit different. Ball movement is certainly different. So, I mean, defenses are going to be different as well. Now, with all those differences, on offense, Team USA should be able to capitalize. But they've been struggling for whatever reason. Honestly, I think what it comes down to is they don't have a true big man. Now, I do know that a couple of videos ago, I did say that it would be nice to see a Julius Randle on this team, but he's also not a true big. Team USA, and as much as I love Bam Adebayo, because on this team he will be the true big, it's not enough. They need an old school big man on the inside who can move like the forwards do, but is solid on the inside. They need their version of a David Robinson. They need their version of a Tim Duncan, and they don't have that this year. All they have is a bunch of guys who can shoot threes and maybe get a rebound or two in the paint, but no one's really trying extra hard. I mean, you're going to have Kevin Durant playing center from time to time, which sounds like a decent idea, but it's not because the paint's not where he usually likes to play. And he'll get, as good as he's become, he gets pushed around in the paint because of his slight frame in comparison to actual big men. So if I'm Team USA, maybe I'm holding out a position. I know they still have spots open just in case some of the guys from the finals, are still, intending on playing. Because I know that there was a report that if the Phoenix Suns win the championship in 5 or 6 games and there's enough time for him, that he would fly all the way to Tokyo and play in the Olympics, which he can do that. Maybe they should open up another spot and have DeAndre Ayton go out there too, because DeAndre Ayton is probably the only true big man in the league right now who can be effective in overseas play, because his job is to get rebounds and putbacks. That's all it is. But we'll see what happens with that. So as of this moment, the hot take, I already gave it earlier, but I'll go ahead and restate it right here and now. I got Phoenix in 5. I think what's going to happen in tonight's game is Phoenix is going to take tonight's game. It'll probably be a close one, and then they'll take it all the way back to Phoenix, and they'll win on their home floor. And that'll be CP3 getting his championship, and Devin Booker, having toiled away for almost 7 years in Phoenix, finally getting, what he deserves, and that's his championship. He's earned it. And again, this championship, in my opinion, because the only time Phoenix struggles is when two things happen, and usually only one of them has to happen. But in that last game that they lost against Milwaukee, DeAndre Ayton did not eclipse double-digit rebounds. He got off to a hot start, but he didn't finish with double-digit rebounds. And Devin Booker finished the entire game with 10 points. He had a terrible night shooting. So either either your best player is gonna have a horrible night shooting, or your most solid player on the inside is not getting the boards that he needs to get. So I think that if this is over in 5 games, because I don't see that happening again. I think DeAndre Ayton goes back to giving you 18 points, 15 boards. And I think it's highly unlikely that Devin Booker has another, like a 5 for 23 night. I don't see that happening more than once. So, Phoenix in 5, and I'll see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.